بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. So we're moving on to the heading is القياس الشرعي, isn't it, in your book? But if you look at it really, a better description probably the أقسام العلة. So just to quickly recap and summarize, we have الأصل, the مقيس عليه. Then we have the فرع, also called the مقيس, the one you're doing قياس for. مقيس عليه, the thing you're doing قياس upon, you're making your base. Then you have the illah, the wasful munasib, the reason you're transferring the hukam from one to the other. And then the hukam, al-mu'adda, the hukam you're transferring from one to the other. Now based on this, what we're discussing here, if you look at it here on the screen, where do we get the illah from? Is the illah based on the Quran? Is the illah from the sunnah? Is the illah from the ijma' or the illah from the ijtihad? So we're going to discuss this one, then this one, I think then this one, and then in between there's a bit of it goes off on a tangent. Then it comes back to the last part. Fahim? Or it goes after the first two, it goes back off. So you have the map of what we're going to discuss in this section. Acha. So moving on. هو. So قياس, basically القياس الشرعي. So القياس الشرعي is what? ترتب الحكم في غير المنصوص عليه. على معنى هو علة لذلك الحكم في المنصوص. Is it في غير المنصوص? Yeah. So, yeah, sorry, you guide this here. So, ترتيب to be based. So, it's a formulation or structuring or basing a hukam. So, you can say here, deducting a ruling. In which masala? في غير المنصوص عليه. غير المنصوص عليه mean that masala in which there is no nas. Okay? So basing a ruling regarding a non-mansus alayh. Basing the ruling on what? Ala ma'nan. On something, but not say thing, let's straight say ala ma'nan. On something huwa illatun lidhalika al-hukmi fil mansusi alayh. So basing it upon something which is an illa for that hukam in the mansus alayh. Yes? So for example, we can say, let's say for example, the Prophet ﷺ has said, you're not allowed to keep pet dogs. Yes? Then the Prophet ﷺ made some exemptions. For him. Now, he made an exemption for like a dog which looks after a sheepdog, a dog for sheep, for looking after protection, guarding, etc. Okay? Now, what's the ruling? So we have now here, the maqis alay is what? Maqis alay is, let's say for example, guard dog, yes, for hirasa, for guarding. That's maqis alay. What's ghayr maqis alay? A dog for sniffing out drugs, for police, or a dog for sniffing out bombs. So the illa, you can say. So now, what's the hukam? You have a hukam in here. Hukam is based on al-ma'nan, either illa. So the hukam is based on this. Then we transfer this to the ghayr mansus alayh, based on the illah. I mentioned the chart before. Now, how do we know the illah? ثم إنما يعرف كون المعنى إلة بالكتاب وبالسنة وبالإجماع وبالاجتهاد والاستنباط. Same thing, اجتهاد والاستنباط. So that thing being the illah is recognized, so that thing being the illa, kawnul ma'na illatan. So that thing, I mean, I say thing, but the word thing, we say in English, it means to abstract and physical. And ashya in Arabic is only used for physical things. And abstract things, we call them ma'nan. Yes? So, that thing being an illa is known via kitabullah, meaning in the kitabullah itself, it explains that this is the illa for the hukam. In the sunnah itself, there's an illah. In ijma', there's the ijma' that is the ruling. Or they use ijtihad and istinbat to say, well, this is probably the most likely reason, this is the hukam. Do you understand? So really now we're going to discuss these types of illah. So example number one is, we're going to look at a scenario, a situation where, we're going to look at a scenario and a situation where we have the illah is known or is derived from the Kitabullah. The Kitabullah itself explains to us, this is the ruling. فمثال العلة المعلومة بالكتاب كثرة الطواف. The example of an illah which is understood, known, derived from the kitab is the كثرة الطواف. It is example. Frequently coming and going. طاف يطوف طوافا means to go around. We do tawaf of the Baytullah. So it means dawara, to go around, roam around, so coming and going. So frequently frequenting something is an illah. In which example Allah says in the Quran, لَيْسَ عَلَيْكُمْ وَلَا عَلَيْهِمْ جُنَاهٌ بَعْدَهُنْ. That the children and those who work in the house, they have to seek permission from you, ثَلَاثُ أَوْرَاتٍ لَكُمْ, 3 times. Yes, and the 3 times I mentioned in the Quran. Then it says here, وَلَيْسَ عَلَيْكُمْ وَلَا عَلَيْهِمْ جُنَاهٌ بَعْدَهُنْ. So anybody coming into the house has to take what? Permission. However, and those who are frequenting the house, young children, or frequenting the rooms, young children or the slaves and the workers, they frequent the house, but they don't have to take permission every single time because it's haraj. Yes, to come into the house, come into the room, but 3 times. And the Quran, the 3 times is what? After, at night, before Fajr, and after Zuhr, because they have a nap time. Normally, a person is wearing there, take off all the main clothes and they out and be exposed, etc. when they're sleeping. So those 3 times you have to take permission to enter the room. لَيْسَ عَلَيْكُمْ وَلَا عَلَيْهِمْ جُنَاهٌ. There's no sin apart from these times. After these 3, then they can come. Why? طَوَّافُونَ عَلَيْكُمْ بَعْضُكُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. You frequent each other. So if you say, like every time you come in the room, knock, knock, like, you want functional society. Because, and at that time you mentally know that the children will be coming in and out of the room. Or you'll know the slaves will be coming, the workers will be coming in outside the house. So you'll be prepared for that much. Yes? So tawafun. Tawaf yatuf is tawaf. And then tawaf is what you say, Bab? Is mubalagha. So tawafun. So that's when we get, that's what you say here. So what's the illa tawafuna alaykum? So it's not, it is saying they are whom. So why is there no junah? فَإِنَّهُمْ basically. So apart from these 3 times, they don't have to take permission. Why? فَإِنَّهُمْ تَوَّافُونَ عَلَيْكُمْ بَعْضُكُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. Because they frequently come to you, بَعْضُكُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ, you come to each other, come and go. Do you understand? So the كثرة الطواف is an illa for إسقاط الحكم. Are you following? So look, it's right here. Now, let's take an example now. Now we know, so what have we done? We've said, الحرج في الاستئذان. There is haraj, difficulty, hardship, mashaqqa in asking permission each time to enter the house. For whom? For people who are frequently coming in and out. So we say, well, apart from 3 very private times when you're like in your bedroom at night time sleeping, before Fajr, or in the afternoon when the Arabs used to sleep because of the extreme heat. So in those times when a person is doing what? When a person is, apart from those 3 times, a person can come and go. And why is the ruling being dropped? Because of كثرة الطواف. And who says كثرة الطواف is the illa? The Quran says it. طَوَافُونَ عَلَيْكُمْ بَعْضُكُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. We've got a new masla. What's the new masla? حَرَجٌ najasa. That we have certain animals who in theory, whose lu'ab, whose saliva, in theory, according to qiyas, what is it? Najis. For example, what do rats eat? They eat mice, they eat hashashul ard, they eat all these different insects, they eat all these things, yes? So what is there? So basically their meat is impure, and therefore the lu'ab is also going to be, the saliva is also going to be impure. So what's the rule? If impurity falls into water, what happens? It becomes impure. So the impure saliva falls into water, that becomes water becomes impure. However, what happens with cats? What's the rule regarding cats? They keep on coming and going. We have a tap nowadays, or we have a container you can close it. In those times, you have large containers, you have buckets, you have jars. Our cats are going to do what? Drink from those. Every time you say, oh, that's impure, what's going to happen? Haraj. Are you following? And what's the illa? What was the illa for haraj fil isti'adhan? طَوَّافُونَ عَلَيْكُمْ بَعْضُكُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. So now what do we do now? We see that in najasa of these animals. Simply also, like say for example, you have an eagle, you have birds, predatorous birds. If you have a predatorous birds, what happens then? They come and fly down. How can you can't. Okay, nowadays you can have a roof and put one inside the garage or something. But before you have 1 room or 2 rooms of your house, outside you have everything open. Birds come and drink from it, go out again. It's haraj. Kathratu tawaf. They come and go all the time. You can't stop it. So now we say here, kathratu tawaf is an illa in haraj fil isti'adhan. we find the same illah in the najasa of these animals which frequent the house. So therefore the hukam being, what's the hukam? The hukam is the hukam forms. Isti'adhan becomes saqit. So we say we take the hukam of suqut al-hukam over to najasa. So the najasa of those items become what? Saqit. What was the illah? Katut al-tawaf. So he's saying here, let's explain this here. فَإِنَّهَا جُعِلَتْ إِلَّةً كثرة الطواف has been made an illah لسقوط الحرج في الاستئذان, because of, what's he made an illah for? For removing the mashaqqa of taking permission, as in the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, لَيْسَ عَلَيْكُمْ وَلَا عَلَيْهِمْ جُنَاهٌ بَعْضُهُنَّ تَوَّافُونَ عَلَيْكُمْ بَعْضُكُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. ثم, then the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he himself said this, asqata, he removed, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam removed the haraj, the difficulty, the mashaqqa of najasati su'ril hirrati bihukmi hadil illah. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he himself mentions this, but he shows the illah from the Quran. He says here, wal hirratu laysat bi najisa. I'm not sure the exact words of the hadith, but the mafhum is from the hadith exactly. The ahirra, meaning a cat, laysat bi najisa, is not what? Impure. Why? فَإِنَّهَا مِنَ التَّوَّافِينَ عَلَيْكُمْ الطَّوَّافَاتِ, because they frequently come unto you. What happens? They frequently come and go. طَوَّافِينَ عَلَيْكُمْ الطَّوَّافَاتِ. You understand? So this here, إِنَّهَا مِنَ التَّوَّافِينَ عَلَيْكُمْ الطَّوَّافَاتِ. He's slightly changed the words, but the illah from the Quran. So the illah from the Quran, so the illah of the hukam is mentioned in the Quran, and then the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam showed us that he took the illah from the Quran and he brought it onto the, no, he's made it mansus. But for him it wasn't mansus at that time, isn't it? He made the hukam. So in theory, the najasatul sur of the hirra is mansus now. But the Prophet never just said it. He gave us a procedure. He explained the reasoning and the logic and the rationale behind his fiqh. Do you understand? And he took the illah from the Quran. فَقَاسَ, so now we get further, we get a further qiyas. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he threw, we say in mass working. He showed us his working, his theory, his logic, his rationale in the Su'r al-Hirra by saying it's not najis. Why? فَإِنَّهَا مِنَ التَّوَّافِينَ عَلَيْكُمْ الطَّوَّافَاتِ. Then our ashab, the fuqaha, then qiyas on جميع فقاس أصحابنا جميع ما يسكن في البيوت كالفأرة والحية على الحرة بإلة الطواف. So our ashab have done qiyas on جميع ما يسكن في البيوت. Everything that resides in the home, ما يسكن في البيوت, like fa'ra and hayya and hirra. So only thing mentioned in the hadith is the hirra. But what's the hayya? Snake. You have small little snakes, like, you know, like not the ones that massive ones, but the small little house snakes that come around. You have mice. Then you also have birds that come flying. So anything that is tawafuna alaykum wa tawafat, the illa is found, we do isqat of the hukam of najasa. Or we say it's karah. Is it qiyas in the Quran or Sunnah? Well, the illa is mentioned where? In the Quran, and the Prophet then also showed us that how we done it. So you can say the illa is from the Sunnah as well, because the Prophet explained it, but it's not actually from himself, he actually took it from the Quran. We just think the words are very similar from the Quran. So we think of the Prophet, he explained the qiyas, but he took the illah from where? The Quran. But we know of this very clearly from the Sunnah. Yes? Second example, وَكَذَلِكَ قَوْلُهُ تَعَالَى فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْ. Whoever witnesses the month, whoever is present during the month, or whosoever witnesses the hilal, على قولين. وَمَنْ كَانَ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ فَعِدَّةٌ مِنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرَ. And whosoever is ill, unwell, or he's on a journey, فَعِدَّةٌ, then he should complete the number of misfas from other days out of Ramadan. And then the text says, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes, desires, intends ease for you, and He does not intend what for you? Hardship and difficulty. So what's the masla? بيّن الشرع, the Sharia explained to us أن الإفطار للمريض والمسافر لتيسير الأمر عليهم, is to actually make things easy for them. ليتمكنوا من تحقيق ما يترجح في نذرهم من الإتيان بوظيفة الوقت أو تأخيره إلى أيام أخرى. ليتمكنوا, so they are able تحقيق, to carry out. تحقيق, we say here as what translates تحقيق, to carry out. Yes? So they can carry out. يترجح, preferable. Is it preferable or more important? So they can carry out what is preferable or more important in their eyes. Yes? يريد الله بكم اليسر. So now the Sharia says it's up to you. Now Sharia has given you its ease, so you can carry out what is more important for you. Between what? And even mean bayaniya, we can say here, between. You don't translate mean as between normally, but it will fit better in translation. So they can carry out what is preferable in their or preferable and more important in their eyes. Between al-ityanu bi wadhifati al-waqt, ityan means to carry out. Fulfill, let's say fulfill. To fulfill the wadhifa of the waqt. What's the wadhifa of the waqt? The prescribed action of that time, which is the fast of Ramadan. أو تأخيره إلى أيام أخرى, or between delaying it to other days. So the Sharia has given you ease. When you are sick or when you are on a journey, what do you have now? You have the ability to do what? Carry out then, carry out later on, whatever brings ease upon you. Fahimt? Somebody say, I'm slightly unwell, I'm traveling, but you know what? To fast out of Ramadan is very difficult. So therefore, I'd rather do it right now. It's just everybody's fasting is easy, it's in the system. I'm going to fast right now. Yes? So now, what do we know? That the illa behind having a rukhsa of not fasting when you're a muqim or a musafir. Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi says, based upon this, al-musafiru idha nawafi ayyami Ramadan wajiban akhar yaqa'u an wajibin akhar. If a musafir does niyyah in the ayyam of Ramadan, so if you're a musafir, what do you have to do? What's your choice? إتيان الوظيفة الوقت وظيفة الوقت أو القضاء في أيام الأخرى. You got a choice between two things. Why? Well, تيسير, make everything easy for you. So if you think fasting is easier, fast. If you think not fasting is easier, don't fast. So Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi says that Allah has given you taysir between not fasting and fasting. So let's say you are musafir. What are you? You're musafir and you decide, you know what, so what's your choice you have? Don't fast altogether or fast Ramadan. So he says that, well, if you have a choice of not fasting and you decide, well, I want ease for me, and because everybody is fasting, I've got a qadha left, or I've got another that I done before, a vow that I made before, I've got a fast left. I can't convince myself or get myself to do the qadha, or I can't get myself to do another. Let me do that right now, Ramadan, when I'm musafir. Instead of not fasting, what do I do now? I do my another wajib fast. And I delay my Ramadan fast, because Ramadan fast I'll have to do anyways. Are you following? I can convince myself to do that. Let's say example. So Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah is saying that Sharia has given him taysir bayn al-amrayn, not fasting and fasting. So if he was to say, well, I'm not going to fast, I'm not going to not fast, I'm going to do another fast, the other fast will occur. The wajib fast, the other wajib will occur. Why? لأنه لما ثبت له الترخص بما يرجع إلى مصالح بدنه. Because Imam Abu Hanifa is saying, look, because tarakhus means a choice, ease, respite is given to him based بما يرجع, based on what is linked to the masal of his badan. Sharia says, you're fasting, you may be tired. You're traveling on a camel, hot sun, difficulty, hardship. You got a choice to preserve your energy and your body and your safety and your health. Fast, don't fast, up to you. So if the Sharia has given him rukhsa, ijaza, permission, leeway, concessions, based, mimma yarju is a base, based on the masalih, the consideration of the body. Yes? What is this? Huwa al-iftar. Which is what? Iftar. What's the concession base for the betterment of the body? Iftar. Now he's saying, then, لأن يثبت له ذلك بما يرجع إلى مصالح دينه أو لا. It's khabar. Yes? Therefore, having a rukhsa based upon which benefits his deen, is more awla, is awla, more worthy, better, more important, more necessary. And what's the masalih of the deen? إخراج النفس عن أحدة الواجب, to absolve or resolve or fulfill a wajib which was compulsory upon the nafs. So it was compulsory upon you to fast one wajib. So which is more, so now we have here, don't fast. What do you have? Don't fast. Fast what? Of Ramadan. And in between you have the fast of a wajib. This is, the faidah of this is what? Maslahatul what? Maslahatul badan. This is what? Maslahatul deen. And having this leeway is what? Both of them is Tayseer. Is ease. Yes? So when this is Thabit, you have this, to keep the after your body, you don't have to fast. So you can look after your deen, fulfill that wajib. That's also awla. Understood? There's arguments against that, but that's Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi, his argument. وَمِثَالُ الْعِلَّةِ الْمَعْلُومَةِ بِالسُنَّةِ. The example of an illah which is understood from the sunnah is in the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam statement. في قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Sorry, yes. Yes, he says, لَيْسَ الْوُضُوءُ على من نام قائما أو قائدا أو راكعا أو ساجدا. There's no wuzu upon the person who falls asleep while standing, while sitting, while doing ruku, or while in prostration. إنما الوضوء على من نام مستجئا. Yes? وكم الexample? إن العينان وكاء الصحي. Yes? There's only wudu upon the person who does what? Who sleeps lying down. Are you following? You get it? And then another hadith, then the illah is also mentioned in the hadith. It says al-aynani, another one is al-aynani wika usahi. Let's get this fixed. I don't know why that's happening. Yeah? Just try even wiping off in here. Huh? This whole part is hadith. Okay. What's the hadith? فإنه إذا نام استرخاء فاصله. Until here is hadith. So my mistake, sorry. Yeah? And the Prophet explained it. فإنه إذا نام مستجئا, when he sleeps mustaji'an, when you sleep lying down, flat on your back, استرخت مفاصله, your mafasil, your joints, your body joints become what? Loose. When your body joints becomes loose, then what happens? You have no control over your body. So therefore, the same way your hands can become loose, your eyes become loose, your hands become loose, the muscles of your buttocks becomes loose. So therefore, wind can pass and you will not be aware of what happened. So جعل صلى الله عليه وسلم يا جعل استرخاء المفاصل إلة. The استرخاء المفاصل, the mafasil, the joints, muscles, all of those things becoming loose has been made an illah for the wuzu breaking. Are you following? فَيَتَعَدَّى الْحُكْمِ. The ruling will be transferred, carried on, based upon this illah. Based on this illah, the ruling will be muta'addi, transferred to sleeping, leaning against something. Yes? So the Prophet said, mustaji'an, lying, mustaji'. What does mustaji' mean? You're lying flat. Yes? So if you're lying against something, if you're leaning back, you're not lying flat, you're leaning like this. But you're leaning, you sleep, so sleep, deep sleep, so sleep deep. So deep sleep. Your sleep is so deep that what happens, that if that thing was to be removed, you're leaning against it. Or if you were to remove that thing to fall, that means that you're in deep sleep. You're not really controlling yourself anymore. Even though you're leaning against something, you're not qa'iman, you're not raki'an, you're not sajidan. And you're not, and you're not mustaji'an as well. You lean against something, but your sleep is so deep, this is istikhal mafasil, because what's propping you up? That support, that partition, that wall. So we say even here, what will happen now? The wudu will break. Similarly, if you find another scenario, وَكَذَلِكَ يَتَعَدَّى الْحُكْمُ بِهَذِهِ الْإِلَّةِ إِلَى الْإِغْمَاءِ وَالسَّكْرِ. The ruling will transfer, based on this illah, بِهَذِهِ الْإِلَّةِ, based on this illah, the hukam will be transferred to إِغْمَاء and sakr. If you become unconscious or you become drunk, in these scenarios you don't know what you're doing. It's istirkhal mafasil. So ighma, you become unconscious is very clear. In sakr, you don't have recollection of the mafasil becoming loose, not loose. You may have passed away, not recall it. So we said the illah is basically istirkhal mafasil. And all of these istirkhal mafasil is found. So the illah mentioned by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we use that for ghayr mansoos hukam. So the illah of the asl is known from the Quran and the sunnah in this example. Another example where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he explains the ruling and the illah is this. Tawadda'i wa salli. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to one of the Sahabiyah who was having irregular bleeding. He said, tawadda'i wa salli, perform wudu and perform your salah. Wa in qatara damu ala al-hasiri qatara. Even if the blood drips from your body and it drops onto the mat that you're praying salah upon. فَإِنَّهُ damu iliqin infajara. It's not a dam of hayd. It's not the menstrual bleeding. What is it? It's blood from a vein that has burst open. Yeah, so basically saying here, this is not menstrual bleeding, this is normal bleeding. This is some kind of irregular, normal from the vein. So therefore, you continue performing salah. So from here, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, innahu damu idqin infajara. Innahu is like an illah, isn't it? It was an illah. So the statement, innahu infajara. Innahu damu idqin infajara. This ruling, damu idqin infajara, is the illah. The Prophet himself mentioned the reason why this woman should continue performing salah. He said, tawadda'i wa salli. Why? This blood is damu idqin infajara. So if you have a damu idqin infajara, ja'ala, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ju'ila infijaru dami illatan. Blood gushing forth from a vein has been made the illah. So therefore, يتأدى الحكم بهذه الإلة. The ruling will be transferred via this illah to hijama and all other types of things. So if, for example, you have hijama, and what happens now? The blood comes forth, it keeps on bleeding. What we say here now, continuous bleeding makes you ma'adhur, and now you don't have to perform, you have to perform salah as normal. Tawadda'i, and the rules of ma'adhur will take place. Tawadda'i wa salli, and then you done the rules of ma'adhur in kuduri. Yes? Meaning that blood, that continuous blood is actually, what's the rule for that? You just perform wudu, and then you perform salah, and then when the time elapses, your wudu will break. Now we're going on to examples where the illah is known from the ijma'. ومثال العلة المعلومة بالإجماع فيما قلنا الصغر إلة لولاية الأب في حق الصغير. That the father, they have wilaya over the child. Because obviously, who's going to transact for the child? Money, somebody give them a gift, look after the money, spend their money. Let's say the parents can't have enough money to look after them, but the child inherited money, somebody give the child a gift. Not to spend the money on them, buy clothes for them. All of these things are, the parents have there. Yes? So the as-Shashi illatun li wilayat al-Ab. Sighar, being young, is an illah for the father to have wilaya over the saghir. So therefore, if he has wilaya over the young boy, فَيَثْبُتُ الْحُكْمُ فِي حَقِّ الصَّغِيرَ. To do the illah. If he's got a young girl, same thing. So everybody agrees that the father has wilaya over the young boy to carry out transactions that need to be done on his behalf, decisions that need to be made on his behalf. So the illah is sighar, being immature and incapable mentally of doing what? Carrying out decisions best ability. So therefore, as a result, يثبت الحكم, the ruling will also be established in حق الصغيرة لوجود الإلة. Because the saghira has the same illah, she's saghir. The sighar is also found in her. So therefore, you say the same ruling will also apply to her. The next example we do inshallah tomorrow. Subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulil kareem, amma ba'd. So another example of an illah which is known or recognized via ijma' is this example here. So previously mentioned that being young, being immature, being below the age of physical and mental maturity is an illah, it's a reason and a cause for a father to have wilaya and authority and guardianship over a young boy. So similarly, the father will also have wilaya over a young girl. Similarly, the opposite of that, bulugh and aqlin. If a person becomes baligh, mature, and aqlin, with aql. Sometimes a child may become baligh physically, but not mentally matured yet. So that's what we're saying, an aqlin. So if a person becomes baligh, And how do they become baligh? They become baligh an aqlin, meaning mentally they become mature. This is an illa li zawali wilayat al-abi fi haqq al-ghulam. This becomes an illa, a reason or a cause for the wilaya of the father, the guardianship which the father had before. That guardianship now comes to an end. You understand? So the father had guardianship, and that guardianship has now come to an end. Why? Because now that child, that young boy, fi haqq al-ghulam, in relation to the young boy, the father's guardianship comes to an end because now he's now reached mental maturity. So, because the illa is معلومة بالإجماع. So فيتأدى فيتأدى الحكم. No, فيتأدى الحكم. فيتأدى الحكم إلى الجاري بهذه الإلة. So in the girl, the same Muslim will apply. When she becomes baligh and aqlin, the guardianship of the father goes, and now she can do her own independent transactions, just as a boy can do his own independent transactions. Are you following? Yes? You understand? Another masla we have here is وانفجار الدم إلة الانتقاض للطهارة في حق المستحاضة. In a mustahada, regards to a mustahada, a woman who's having irregular bleeding, the blood gushing forth is an illa for the wuzu to break. So therefore, wherever blood gushes forth in another place, we will say this is also the illa for that wuzu breaking. For example, you got a nosebleed, you got a cut and it continues to bleed. Yes? So these are some examples where the illa is muttafaq alayh from the ijma'. So far so good? So now we've discussed the illah, which is ma'lum from the Quran. We've discussed the illah, which is ma'lum from the Sunnah. We've discussed the illah, which is ma'lum from the ijma'. Now we're going to go through the illah, which is ma'lum from ijtihad later on. Now in between we have a digression, or we're discussing something regarding these three. We discussed this before at the beginning. We're discussing am and khas. We say amul jins, amul naw, amul fard. Yes? So again, this is what you call it here taxonomy, where you have a list of of things and how they all fit in together. So we say, for example, the jins is the highest category, and everything in that jins has the same. They define the same. So, for example, insan, they all categorized as one, and the naw is where they all have a similar definition, but they have different characteristics, different features. So, for example, man and woman. So, man is a naw of the jins. So, jins is insan, and then under that category you have man and woman, different naw, different types. Types not really a translation, it's a translation, but it's like a definition. So you have jins and the naw, and then under each of them you have a fard. Fahim? This is how you do taxonomy. How you divide them. Fahim? Remember this from the beginning. So we have the jins, we have the naw, and we have the fard. Many afrad make up a naw, and many anwa'a make up a jins. And the jins are those things that have the same definition, like define, have the same characteristics. Yes, like a human being. How do you find a human being that have the main characteristic are the same? And anwa'a means that they have different features. And then each fard then is an individual. So now we jogged our memory and we refresh this. What we're saying here is ثُمَّ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ. After this, we are going to say qiyas is of two types. We're going to say qiyas is of two types. What are the two types of qiyas? أحدهما أن يكون الحكم المعد من نوع الحكم الثابت في الأصل. That the hukam being transferred is from the same hukam, it's from the same naw. Same naw as the hukam which is being transferred from the asal. So the asal and the fara are from the same naw. And the other examples from the same jins. Okay? وَثَانِي أَن يَكُونَ مِن جِنسِهِ. The second type of qiyas is where the asal and the fara are not from the same naw, they're from the same jins. Now let's have a look at this. We have صغر. What do we have? We have صغر. What does صغر mean? Being below the age of mental maturity. Yes? So صغر is an illah. Okay? Now, in صغر, we can have wilayatul mal. So صغر is an illah. What's an illah for? Two things. Wilayatul mal and wilayatul nafs. Wilayatul mal means because of صغر, the father or the guardian, let's just say the father for now, the father has guardianship over the young boy, over the young girl. In which aspect regard to their mal? And then you have wilayatul nafs. Fahim? Yes? So we say here, mal and nafs are from the same jins. Or instead of saying sigar, we can say wilayah. We can say wilayah. Because the sigar was the illa, let's call it wilayah. So wilayah is the thing. So in wilayah you have wilayah, we have wilayatul mal and wilayatul nafs. We say this is different jins. Sorry. Yeah, this is the jins. Jins is the wilayah, yes? This is the jins. This is the no. This is the no. And these are the afrad. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay? You understand? Acha. So now what do we say? We say that now the wilayah, the father having wilayah over the boy and the father having wilayah over the girl, the guardianship over the boy and the girl, they're from the same note. They're from the same thing. Do you understand? And wilayatul mal and wilayatul nafs are from the same jins of wilayah. Yes? So, we say here, we can change wilayatul ghulam, wilayatul nafs fil ghulam, and wilayatul nafs fil jariyah. So wilayatul nafs fil ghulam and wilayatul nafs fil jariyah are from the same note. They're both from where? Wilayatul nafs. And wilayatul mal, wilayatul nafs, they are from the same the jins of wilayah. Do you understand how we understand what we're saying here? So let's say, for example, we make this the asal. Let's say we have this is the asal, for example. If this is the asal, this is the fara'. Let's do it right. If this is the asal, and this is the fara'. This is the asal and this is the fara'. Now you say the asal and the fara' from the same. The hukam of this and the hukam of this is from the same jins. If you make this the asal, this is the fara'. They're both from the same. No. Do you understand? مثال الاتحاد في النوع ما قلنا. An example of اتحاد في النوع is what we say that إن الصغر إلة لولاية الإنكاح في حق الغلام. Yes, that in some cultures before this is even like for somebody was putting up even like in the American census in like 100 years ago, 50 years ago, they people married at the age of 12 to 13. Yes, and even now there's some cultures where they get children married off from young. And then consummation will happen after they reach the age of puberty. But then the marriage will happen when they're young. So basically it's like you have poverty, you have relationships, all that kind of stuff. So it's well, if they get somebody's fixed set from now, then I don't have to worry, this is set, they're already set. So they're married and then consummation happens later on. So in Islam we're allowed to do this. Yes? And they're only allowed to have consummation when they're not going to cause them bodily harm, which is the age of puberty. So inkah, carrying out the nikah for the boy, so because he is young, because the boy is what? Young, he's saghir. This is an illah for the father to have guardianship in getting him married. Yes, so wilayatul nafs fil ghulam. Yes, what's the same now? فَيَثْبُتُ وِلَايَةُ الْإِنْكَافِ حَقِّ الْجَارِيَةِ. Yes, and the jariyah have the same masala. Because why? It has the same illah. And the hukam وَبِهِ, yes? Are you following? Are you got it? Yes. Now, what he's saying here is now, what do we know now? That the illah is sighar, and this has been thabit via what? How has it been thabit? This has been proven and established via the illah is the same hukam. So now we know the illah is actually sighar. The illah is not, the illah is, wilayah is the ruling, and the illah is the sighar. So now, if, let's say for example, there was a young girl, she got her married, then they got divorced. So well, no, it's not going to work out here. Let's say they decide, no, they can move, they're traveling, the tribe is migrated, and they got broke up. They said, break it up. Now, because she was married before, that does not mean now that what happens. She's still saghir or not? Saghir or not? So we said the illah is what? It's okay. So if she's been previously married, and what's been established? She's still saghira. What will happen? We still have the wilayah. Because the illah is what? Sighar. Yes? Not being married or unmarried. Or previously married, not previously married. Do you understand? Another example. Yes? So what we're saying is that when in the same note, there's a lot more, you have to have a significant farq to change the ruling. Because it's very close, isn't it? No, it's very close compared to the jins. They're a bit higher, they're different, like a sister. It's like brothers, these are cousins. So because they're very close, the rulings are almost like very similar. Are you following? To not do qiyas, you have to have a strong fariq. Another example of this is tawaf. What do we say? That tawaf is an illa. I put the illa. Tawaf is an illa. What's tawaf? Tawaf is an illa. Now it's an illa for what? Saqoot al-istidhan. So the illa is tawaf and the hukm is what? Saqoot. Saqoot al-hukm. Or saqoot al-harj. Do you understand? Yes? Saqoot al-istidhan. And you have saqoot al-najasa. What are these? These are from different. The jins is saqoot al-hukm, isn't it? So this is now one note. This is another note. They're both from the same jins. Are you following? And it's saqoot al-najasa. What do you have in the hadith? The hirra. This is the fard of that note. Saqoot al-najasa al-hirra. And another fard is what? Another fard is sawakil al-buyut. Other animals that reside within the house. Not reside, but they come and frequent the house. Are you following? Yes? So, these are from the same note. These two are from the same jins. Is that clear?
So you're saying that if there's something else in the other note, you can't carry over?
No, but we'll do that coming up later on. But what we're saying is, just understand this taqseem for now. And when they're from the same note, then it's like the qiyas is much stronger. Because they're very close by, innit? They're very closely linked. So the qiyas is very stronger, it makes a lot more sense. So in here, it's almost like default is basically the same hukam. Like, that's not the rule, but it's like, because they're from the same family. This is from the same, like, tribe. So now you have to then establish resemblances. Here, by definition, there's these resemblances. So the maqis almost share illa automatically because they're from the same note. You would have to prove, like, there's quite significant differences to change the ruling. And in here, it's going to prove that it's mushabah because it's from the same genes. And from the same genes, you can have, for example, saqoot istizan. You can have saqoot of something else. It's like, it's not as similar and as close. And that will come up shortly. Okay? So, let's stop here a minute. Okay, now moving on. So it's like going over here. So we're saying, الطواف إلة سقوط نجاسة السؤر في سؤر الحرة. So we say in سؤر الحرة, what happens? What happens in سؤر الحرة? The illa is tawaf. And the note of this is same. What's the same note? سواكن البيوت. So يتأدى الحكم إلى سؤر سواكن البيوت because that's the same note. لوجود الإلا. You following? Similarly, وبلوغ الغلام عن أقل إلة زوال ولاية الإنكاح. When the boy becomes baligh, what happens now? This is an illa for the wilayatul inkah to come to an end. So similarly, what's the same? Wilayatul ghulam, so wilayatul nafs fil ghulam, wilayatul nafs fil jariya. Same note. So the illa from the boys, the wilayah is also found in there. You following? Now use those same graphs, but now we're going to not the brother but for the cousin. So we're going to say here, ومثال الاتحاد في الجنس ما يقال كثرة الطواف إلة سقوط حرج الاستئذان في حق ما ملكت أيماننا. It came before in the Quran. طوافون عليكم بعضكم على بعض. Yes. So now we have سقوط حرج الاستئذان and سقوط النجاسة. Yes. So the سقوط الاستئذان is on one side, one note of the same jins, but they're from the same jins. It's not now اتحاد الجنس. Before it was اتحاد النوع. سؤر الحرة and سؤر سواكن البيوت. Same note. And then you have سقوط حرج الاستئذان سقوط ونجاسة السؤر. سؤر الحرة. That's what same جنس. فهم؟ فيسقط حرج نجاسة السؤر بهذه العلة. Are you following? Because استئذان and najasa different. Same سقوط الحكم is سقوط الحرج. Same جنس but different. They're from the same جنس. Okay. فإن هذا الحرج من جنس ذلك الحرج لا من نوعه. Do you understand? Yes. Similarly, got the same chart again. الصغر إلة ولاية تصرف للأب في المال. Being mentally immature is an illa for the father to have tasarruf in the mal. Yes, so ولاية المال. فيثبت ولاية تصرف النفس بحكم هذه الإلة. So ولاية المال, so ولاية المال ولاية النفس. And ولاية النفس ولاية الغلام ولاية الجارية. So ولاية الإنكاح في الغلام ولاية الإنكاح في الجارية from the same نوع. And ولاية النفس ولاية المال from the same جنس of ولاية. This is an example of اتحاد الجنس. فيثبت ولاية تصرف النفس بحكم هذه الإلة. Similarly, the opposite. وإن بلوغ الجارية عقل, the girl becoming mature mentally is an illa for the wilayah to go away in mal. So therefore the bulugh and aql of the wilayah for it to go away in nafs as well. So the ithbat and the nafi. It's the same example, one for the ithbat, one for the nafi. Is that clear? Right. Now. Yes? Now he's saying here, ثُمَّ لَا بُدَّ فِي هَذَا النَّوْء. When we have the asal and the maqis alay, and the fara and the maqis, yes, when they're from the same jins, not the same no, then what must happen? Fi hadha no, meaning which fi hadha no, the no in which they are from the same jins, not the same no. You have tajnisul illa. What must you have? Tajnisul illa. What's tajnisul illa? It's an ahasha. You can underline it if you want to. Tajnisul illa is something, ma'nan, it's an ma'nan am. It's a general concept, a general something which ya'ummul mansusa wa ghayrahu is an illa. It's an illa which encompasses the mansus and the ghayr mansus. And it can't be anything, it has to be wasfun munasib. ليؤثر الحكم في المنصوص. Yes? You can't say the illa for saqoot, like for example, you can't say the illa, the Quran was revealed this in Medina Munawwara. So the illa of the slaves and the servants being able to come because they were Arabs and the cats are also Arabs. That's not that doesn't ta'athir in the mansus. You get it? You following? Because of Medina Munawwara. That's not the illa. Being in Medina is not the illa for tawafuna alaykum. What's the illa? Tawaf is the illa, not for. So you have to be, it has to have an am illa that encompasses both, and liyu'athir al-hukma fil mansus. It has to be the defining factor, the cause of it. It is what causes the hukam. Are you following? So if you go over again, you have what? You have saqoط الحرج, سقوط الحرج, and then you have it in what? What's the one note? Istidhan. Istidhan. And then you have what? Najasa. Yes? And in Najasa, what's the mansus alay? Hirra. What's the fara? Sawakinil buyut. The same note. Yes? And istidhan, you can even make a note in here. You have ghulam. And you can have awlad. Yes? Now, in here, now in this now, when we look at najasa, when we look at najasa compared to istidhan, we have to have what? Tejnisul illa. What's tejnisul illa? That there must be an illa which encompasses both istidhan and najasa. And it has to be, you say, okay, and the illa is what? Being from Medina Munawwara. No, it's not counted. Why? That's not mu'athir. It's not wasfun munasib. It is included in istidhan, the gulam and the awlad, when Medina, the Prophet, the ruling was revealed. And this hirra, sawakil was also in Medina Munawwara. But being in Medina Munawwara is not the illa mu'athira. What's the illa mu'athira? Huh? Yeah, the illa is tawaf. The illa is tawaf. This is the illa mu'athira. So, when you have from the different jins, what must you have? An illa amma, which is mu'athira, which is also called was munasib. Okay? And we'll explain from here tomorrow, inshallah. Subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem amma ba'd. So just continuing from yesterday, we have here now, we were mentioning that for in this type of qiyas, when they're both from the same jins, not from the same now, what needs to happen is we need to have tajnisul illa. And we explain that tajnisul illa means an illa which is mu'athir and an illa which is mu'athir and it is mushtarak between the two of them. An example of this is بأن نقول إنما يثبت ولاية الأب في مال الصغيرة لأنها عاجزة عن التصرف بنفسها. For example, we say that the father's wilaya, a guardianship, is only, or custodial care is only because, in the wealth of a young girl, is only because she is unable to do tasarruf in her own self. She doesn't have the mental maturity. So therefore, فأثبت الشرع ولاية الأب كي لا يتعطل مصالحها المتعلقة بذلك. So because she is ajiz, she's unable to she's unable to carry out the transactions herself. If you don't allow transactions, buying food, clothing, investments, all of those kind of stuff, her masalih, her needs and necessities regarding her wealth will be mu'attal and will be nullified and become void, or will be severely hampered. So therefore the Sharia has allowed this. However, therefore, وَقَدْ أَجَزَتْ, similarly, so this is the maqis alayh. And the illa also applies في تصرف في نفسها. So because the wilaya applies in the mal, the تجنيس الإلا that applies in both of them is العجز عن التصرف. وقد أجزت عن التصرف في نفسها فوجب القول بولاية الأب عليها. So we'll have to say necessarily that the father also has wilaya upon her in her nafs. And I explained all this masla before previously. Okay. وعلى هذا نظائره, and like this you can do qiyas of the other types of تجنيس الإلا. Acha. Now what we're saying here, وحكم القياس الأول ألا يبطل بالفرق. When you have the maqis alay and the maqis from the same note, then if there's slight differences, we will say this qiyas is not batil. You will automatically have farq, but it will not change. Because لأن الأصل مع الفرق. Because the asl and the farq, when they are متحد in the illa, they have the same illa. وجب اتحادهما في الحكم. So the asl has the same illa, the farq has the same illa. So we say the hukam of both of them will be the same. وإن افترقا. So even though they may have certain differences, but as long as they are not different in the illa, they have the same illa mu'athira. So you may have differences, those differences are not going to be significant. So for example, we have wilaya. Okay, so let's draw here. We have here wilayatun. Okay, and then we have wilayatun nafs, and then we have wilayatu mal, and we have malul ghulam and malul jariya. Yes. Now in here we say these are both from the same note. Yes. Now because ghulam and jariya from the same note, and the illa mushtaraka in both of them is ids. So ittihada fil illa. So one being male, one being female is a farq. But that farq will not cause a difference in the qiyas, because they're from the same note. Are you following? However, if we go back, so basically in here, these are from the same note, the ghulam and the jariya from the same note. Because they're from the same note, any farq in here will not be significant, will not cause the qiyas to become batil. Is that clear? Yes. However, if it's from the same jins, we have wilaya, but it's not from the same note. We have wilaya fil mal and wilaya fil nafs. So wilaya fil mal and wilaya fil nafs, both of these are from the same jins. They're both separate note themselves. So there's an illa mushtaraka, which is what? Al-ids and tasarruf. Al-ids and tasarruf. Okay? However, if there's a farq, we can say this becomes batil. The qiyas can become batil. You can argue for the qiyas being batil. You say it's qiyas ma al-fariq. For example, we could argue that okay, nafs wilaya is the mushtarak, is a masla we're discussing. The illa is mushtarak between the two of them. It's tajnis al-illa. One is both is fit tasarruf. However, we can say there's a farq. What's the farq? That for the parents to have wilaya in mal, this is something kathiratul wuqu', buying, selling, transactions, renting, all of these things in the child's wealth, his possessions, is necessary for the father. Yes, what is this? What? It's all necessary. فهمت؟ كثرة الوقوع. It's common. You can't avoid it. As for ولاية في النفس, one of the مقاصد of nikah is قضاء شهوة. But when there's a صغير and صغيرة, there's no shahwa. So this is the فرق. That in mal is كثرة الوقوع and it's حاجة. And in nafs there's no حاجة. So we can say that because this is the different now, there's a فرق. So the qiyas can become, we can argue for the qiyas become باطل. That this it and التصرف is إلا is مشتركة, but there's a فرق, which is the كثرة الوقوع and the حاجة. You understand? So he's saying here وحكم القياس الثاني فساده بممانعة التجنيس. This qiyas becomes fasid if you say that we don't agree that the illa extends to both of them. والفرق الخاص, and if you have if there's no illa mushtaraka, the qiyas is fasid. And if you have a qiyas, if you have a illa mushtaraka, however, there's a farq, there's a difference between the two of them. What will happen then? We will say, you can say the qiyas is fasid. For example, وهو example of فرق الخاص is to explain or to claim that تأثير الصغر في ولاية التصرف في المال فوق تأثيره في ولاية التصرف في النفس. That the تصرف في المال, the amount of need, the amount of ids and zarura that is found in ولاية في المال is much more than that which is found in ولاية التصرف في النفس. So therefore the فرق, as I mentioned before, one is the حاجة because of shahwa, not having shahwa. Yes? So therefore, in that situation, what will you say? We will say that this will make the qiyas fasid. So if you argue for this, you can say the qiyas is fasid because qiyas ma'al fariq. There's a difference between the maqis alay and the maqis. Okay, now we're moving on to, so what I told you before is that we discussed the illa al-ma'luma min al-kitab, then we discussed al-illa al-ma'luma min al-sunnah, then we discussed al-illa al-ma'luma min al-ijma'. And then in between we discussed the tejnīs with illa and the naw and the jins and all of those kind of things. Now we're moving on to the third type. وهو القياس بعلة مستنبتة بالرأي والاجتهاد. Where the qiyas is known via ijtihad or ra'i. Yes, so this qism thalith, so this is jumla mu'taridah. The qism thalith is qiyas which is mustanbat bil ra'i wal ijtihad, and the bayan of this is zahir as a khabar. Bayan huwa zahir. وتحقيقه, going to details, إذا وجدنا وصفا مناسبا للحكم. When we say that we can see, we can sense, we can perceive and understand a particular illa cause for a particular hukam, then what happens then? وهو بحال يوجب ثبوت الحكم. وهو بحال يوجب ثبوت الحكم. What does this do? What we can do here? What we're going to say here, إذا وجدنا وصفا مناسبا للحكم. This is the مفعول فيه, and it continues over here. We'll explain that middle part later on. So when we find a وصفا مناسبا للحكم, we find a suitable wasf for the hukam, then يضاف الحكم إليه. We will then attribute, connect, link, base the hukam to that illa or that wasf munasib. للمناسبة, because of our own ijtihad and us coming to the conclusion that this is the reason and the cause. لا لشهادة الشرع بكونه إلا. We're not attributing the hukam to this cause because the Sharia said so, but because of ijtihad. As opposed to al-illa al-ma'luma min al-Qur'ani wa sunnati wal ijma'. If the illa is known by Qur'an, the sunnah and the ijma', then in those cases and in those scenarios, what happens? We say that this is the illa because of the shahad al-Shar'i. The Sharia has informed us that this is the illa. But in this case, it is based on our ijtihad. Fahimt? You following? Acha. Now what is this wasfan munasiban lil hukm? He said, وَهُوَ بِحَالٍ, that this wasf munasib is such a condition that يُوجِبُ ثُبُوتَ الْحُكْمِ وَيَتَقَاضَاهُ بِالنَّظْرِ إِلَيْهِ. When we ponder upon it, it's not qat'an, but with our ijtihad, we see that the illa and this wasfan munasib is causing the hukm. Yes? Okay? وَقَدْ اقْتَرَنَ بِهِ الْحُكْمِ, and this illa has been found and been attached in موضع الإجماع or موضع آخر. Yes? That in a place of ijma or in another place we find that this hukam has been attached to this type of illa before. What I think it's trying to say here, from what I've read, is that the illa has to be something that is accepted by the sharia. You can't just make up illa. You can't say, oh, the illa for this is because it's pink. The illa is because it's red. The illa is because it's from Mecca. It has to be an illa which it is mawdi al-ijma', that is ma'an. So via ijma' or via other nusus, this illa has been thabit, that this has become an illa, that this thing is actually an illa. So وَقَدْ اقْتَرَنَ بِهِ الْحُكْمِ, the hukam has been joined to, attached to, linked to such a wasfun munasib in other places which has been accepted to be an illa. So when we're doing ijtihad to bring out an illa, we have to see two things. Number one is that this thing is, then by nazar ilayhi, by doing ijtihad, we conclude that the hukam is attached to this. And in other places, وَقَدْ اقْتَرَنَ بِالْحُكْمِ فِي مَوْضِعِ الْإِجْمَاعِ, and in other places we find that the hukam is muta'alliq to such ilal and such was munasib. Does that make sense? Okay. And he gives the example. Look, إذا رأينا شخصا يتصدق، إذا رأينا شخصا أعطى فقيرا درهما. When we see that a person has given a faqir 1 dirham, then we've seen a hukam. إعطاء الفقير درهما. Yes? Now, we do ijtihad, نظرنا إليه, we do ijtihad, we look into this. And we say that the إعطاء, giving the faqir this dirham, is لدفع حاجة الفقير, is to remove the haja of the faqir. That's our ijtihad. وتحصيل مصالح ثواب, and in the dunya is to remove the faqir's haja and also to acquire reward in the hereafter. So now we see this is a wasfun munasib. This is a wasfun munasib, that this has probably caused him to do the hukam of giving the faqir a dinar. So this is kind of an ijtihad to determine the illah of a hukam which we see from the sharia. And you have to remember, sometimes you have amrun ta'abudiyun. You have certain ahkam that we ourselves are not able to determine that this is the illah. Right? You just say, well, this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained upon human beings. We have to carry out, even though we are not able to comprehend and understand the illah. For example, 2 rakats of fajr and 3 of maghrib. What's the illah behind the 3 and 2? We don't know. Amru ta'abudi. Why do we have to wash our hands after we discharge impurities from our private parts? We don't wash it, well, we wash the private parts as well. But why the hands? Hands haven't become impure. Amrun ta'abudiyun. There's no illah behind of this. So sometimes you have certain scenarios, certain masail, which are khilafun lil qiyas, which are not khilafun lil qiyas, wara al qiyas, which is beyond our comprehension or our understanding. So in there's no possible ijtihad of qiyas. Okay, subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.